Hi everyone, welcome. We're all at Build today, and I'm Simona Cotin. I work as a cloud developer advocate, and I'm now here with Eduardo. Eduardo, would you mind introducing yourself for us?
For sure. I'm Eduardo Laureano. I'm a program manager lead for the Azure Functions team as part of our bigger serverless strategy.
Awesome. I'm super excited to have here Eduardo with us because he's actually going to talk to us about many of the official announcements that have happened during Build regarding serverless.
Thanks for having me here. Really happy to talk about serverless. It's so exciting to be at Build at serverless. There are over 21 sessions on serverless this year.
Wow.
There were only 5 last year. So anyways, lots of cool stuff.
It's an exciting time to be doing serverless, for sure.
Oh, absolutely. Everybody talks about it. It's featured on the keynotes, all over the sessions. We're getting tons of excited customers comes to our booth to talk to us. So we're super happy to be part of Build. It's really a great moment for us.
I'm super happy to hear that. Would you mind going through maybe the highlights of what you would think is the announcements that have been the best so far?
For sure. Let's see. There's so much done in serverless. So I'll try to recap. Hopefully I don't forget anything and people don't get upset that I forgot. But first one is durable functions, which is the functionality on the Azure Functions, went general availability. We announced here at Build. Lots of people giving feedback on that, so it was great, really positive. With that, we did durable function support now in JavaScript as well. So not only our .NET developers, but also JavaScript community can do durable functions. Made improvements to the monitoring experience. All serious customers that go to production, they need to know what goes wrong when they do Azure Functions. So we're going to make the integration app with application insights turn on by default and more like a natural experience for you to go into application insights. We also did now an integration that you can start from services like storage and immediately hook up your serverless compute. So there's a button now, also uses the lightning bolt logo, just like the functions logo, but without the brackets. And right from storage, you can start a logic app workflow or a functions workflow. So those are the main ones, in case I didn't forget any of the other ones that we're doing here at Build.
Well, you mentioned durable functions, that they went GA, and there's also a preview version of JavaScript, right? Would you mind expanding on what are durable functions and what's the reasoning behind releasing them now?
Yeah. So we started on this serverless journey, Azure Functions, year and a half since went general availability. And customers really picked up serverless. But one initial challenge they had is, how do I move my applications that have state and they're long running into functions? Because functions typically, as you know, they're stateless. They can only run for 5 minutes, maybe 10 minutes if you change a config, but they're not made for long running operations. So durable functions really came in to fill in that gap. Customers really needed to do those scenarios, so we extended the durable task framework and started durable functions. That's how it came about. And it is amazing because we started a little over 6 months ago in a more public journey on durable functions, and we're able to GA now. And one fact that I like, Azure Functions is open source. We have 12 contributors on durable functions. Guess how many are on our team?
6?
Just 3 of them are from our team. So most of the contributions to durable functions is coming from the external community. So really comes as a strong statement how open source really pays off for us and for the customers themselves, because they get the functionality to them quicker because they can contribute and bring it all together.
Well, that sounds great. That sounds really good. Would you mind telling us even about the JavaScript support? I'm a JavaScript developer, so I'm really curious, what's the timeline on actually releasing the JavaScript support for durable functions?
So functions runs in 2 ways. We have the version 1 runtime, and we have the V2 runtime as well. The V1 runtime is the one that's generally available, that we recommend if you're doing something in production, use the V1 runtime. It's where you can run C# or F# or JavaScript in a production manner. V1 though, it's built on .NET framework, And V2 is built on .NET Core. So V2 is cross-platform, which means you can do your development on your Mac or your Linux machine, and you can deploy to the cloud to our Linux offering and a non-Windows offering as well, because it's built on .NET Core. So V2 is where we're doing the new set of development. So the durable functions GA is on the V1 platform, and the JavaScript supports on V2. So whenever functions runtime V2 gets generally available, durable functions JavaScript will be available at the same time.
So you already know my next question then. When do we plan? Is there a plan, a timeline for when we're going to release version 2 functions?
Yeah, so to give you the details, the product team type of details, it's our top priority. It's really V2. It's where we're making tons of investments, new scenarios. It's a better model. We had one session here where we showed things like Python running on the containers. That's only possible in the V2 runtime. So we want to ship it as quickly as we can, but at the same time, we need to do a gradual process of collecting feedback, addressing the quality issues. At the time we want to go out to GA, we want it to be in parity or better than V2. So our customers experience a better runtime. So I feel right now we're just a few months away from having it out. So I'm excited. We can see it coming, and the team is really focused on it. So soon enough, you'll hear from us. You guys will invite me back, and I'll talk about V2 GA runtime.
I love that. I've been actually speaking a lot and experimenting a lot with version 2, and I really feel like there's a lot of work that has been put in version 2, and it's like it's almost there. And I really love that I can use it on my Mac and just program with JavaScript and VS Code, and also the VS Code extension. That's like magic. So yeah, I'm looking forward to the GA as well.
And that's exactly where we are on the journey. So for anyone watching, you can use V2 today and give us feedback. Because we're open source, a lot of what we do is driven by the issues people find on GitHub, what's on user voice, what's on Stack Overflow. So the more feedback we get, the better our V2 runtime is going to be. So I encourage everyone to try out V2, contact the team. It's a very social team. You know, one thing that's funny is the developer team competes who answers the most questions on Stack Overflow. They have a little internal competition going on. That's how serious they take the customer feedback.
I love that. I'm going to ask more questions on Stack Overflow. There was one thing there that I wanted to ask, like in terms of durable functions and logic apps. Would you care to expand on which are the differences between the two? Because they seem kind of related, right?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I'll answer, give you an example of an actual customer that we met. We do those, we call hackfests around the world, where we go talk to customers. They bring an idea that they want, and we help them implement, and we sit together for 3 days to a week to implement their solution in a serverless way. So one customer came to us that they had a problem they want to solve with some type of orchestrator and needed state. And I'll tell you what the problem is actually, that was back in Brazil, where I'm from, and the customer wanted to do collection of payments. And what they wanted was a system that when you're getting behind on your payment and they can sell that system to banks, they would send an SMS and say, hey, your payment's it's due in 2 days. Next day, send another message, it's due in 2 days. Click here to make a payment. And then that workflow wakes up every day and sends a new notification. If the SMS not working, it will send you an email. And then the following day, it starts escalating. It starts doing like, then they can contact the telemarketing company to give a call to the customer to make a payment. So this is an interesting workload because one, you need state to know where you are, if you contacted someone already, if they answered or not. So you need to carry state across your executions. But really, even if you have thousands of customers, you have to do sort of these collection messages. You only run once a day. So why having servers lying around that's not doing anything the whole day? So they want an orchestration that can really last for a long time. And that's when, to your question, they're considering, should I use a logic app or should I use a functions? In this particular case of this company, they're big .NET developers. They love .NET. They love being into the code. debugging, monitoring, and that's where durable functions come. It's natural if you're a coder. Like I said, we extended the durable task framework. So if you're a coder, you only need to learn those concepts, which are actually very simple. You need to learn that you have an orchestrator, that's the one that runs forever, and you have activity functions, which are the ones that get called by the durable function. Once you learn these two concepts, you have those in your control. So the difference is for developers who want to stay in code and do the orchestration in code, durable functions are a great fit. But a lot of other professionals we talk to, they want to have that workflow designer that's drag and drop, really rich, tons of connectors. Logic App's a better fit for those scenarios. So it just depends where you're comfortable with and what level of control you want to have.
Yeah, that makes total sense. Yeah. Okay, cool. So we've spent a lot of time on speaking about durable functions, but
I get super excited. That's why.
I mean, I think it's the hottest thing happening right now in serverless. Like being able to, even though serverless assumes that you have no state, being able to orchestrate functions and kind of maintain some form of state there is actually very useful, because even though we want them to be completely stateless, that's actually that's not always the case.
That's exactly right. Yeah. That's what we hear. Like in the real world, there is some state to be carried over.
Yeah.
And we don't want you to be doing gymnastics. So that's why we're trying to provide you a framework, makes it easy for you.
Yeah. And thank you for that. Well, the next thing that we want to look into is, you've mentioned that we have some monitoring enhancements. Would you mind expanding on that?
Yeah. So if you're using functions, things happen, your code's gonna break, and you need to investigate what goes on. Sometimes you might not even know, is it my app that's something that's wrong with it, or is it something in the platform? So we wanna make it easy for you to know what's wrong with your code. So a couple of things we did. So one is, in functions, we had a tab, it's called a monitoring tab, that gives you some results on your executions. Whether it completed, it failed, how long it took to complete, and if any exception gives you a stack trace and all that.
Yeah.
That was our own monitoring infrastructure. But now that you're running multiple services in the cloud, you want all your telemetry to go to a single place. And Application Insights is a wonderful product. I'm not on the product for Application Insights, but I absolutely love it. It's very rich. You can collect machine level telemetry, you can collect application level telemetry, and telemetry from all the other services in a single place. They have a lot of pre-built charts, live stream telemetry, but also really rich query language. So what we did was further integrate with App Insights. We already supported. Now we did two things. One, we made it the default when you create a new function app, which is where you have all your functions. We turn it on by default for you. We create an App Sites instance, and we connect your functions. And then two, what we did was the monitoring tab, we replaced that, and now it's powered by App Insights data. So super excited to have that level of telemetry on the platform.
Yeah, during my demo today, I've actually worked on doing a load test on functions, and I've used the live stream page within App Insights. And the great part was that I could actually see the number of servers that are being spun up to handle the load and the number of users, the number of requests coming in. So I thought that was very powerful, just seeing in front of my face, like in front of my eyes, how servers are being started.
Oh, that's a wonderful example.
Yeah.
Today, my session with Jeff told folks, don't implement things in a certain way. He actually created a function that would fail, but only at scale. If you do only 10 executions, it won't fail, but once you do thousands, it fails. So we're able to demo how you go into App Insights, go look at all the errors, you gather the exception, you get the stack trace, and you know what was wrong. And it was Jeff's bad code, basically, that was wrong.
Another thing that I was excited about in terms of App Insights, when you say that we're able to monitor different services, does that mean that we'll be able to aggregate the same logs for Azure Functions as well as Cosmos DB and maybe some logs from App Service? Will we be able to see all of those logs within the same instance of App Insights?
So that's one thing you can do. You can use the same instance and aggregate all the logs together, like you're saying. Or even if you, on the query part, you can query across instances too. So that's the other thing you can do. It's just when you're querying your data, just reach out to as the sources that you have to collect them. But you can reuse those instances. You can configure App Insights after the fact. If you already have one instance, you can bring them. The other part that I think is really cool about App Insights is you control how much telemetry you keep. So if you feel like, oh, I just deployed new code and I'm worried that something might break, you can raise the verboseness level and say, hey, I'm going to log quite a bit because something could be wrong with this code. It's a brand new release. And if you're really comfortable, we don't need to keep that much telemetry, you can reduce the verboseness level and say, keep only the aggregates because I don't need to know every single execution. And you can do things like, oh, I don't want to keep informational stuff. I only want to keep warning and errors. So all that level of granularity of what you keep in App Insights is also available to you. So I think that's really powerful.
That sounds great. That sounds really good. I'm happy to use it further on. Okay, cool. So what about functions diagnostics? What new features do we have there?
Yeah, so I forgot to mention that one. So one thing we had was very successful in App Service. And as you know, functions built on top of App Service. So we leverage a lot of features from App Service. But one we hadn't leveraged yet was the web app diagnostics. It's so nice. It's a little interface that you can interact with. It's called Genie. And you can interact with Genie. Genie is the little bot that you talk to. And it does automatic diagnostics for you. It has little colorful tiles. And you can click on those tiles to diagnose common problems. For in the case of functions like out of memory, scaling issues that you might have, or just do an overall health checkup. So this is brand new. We just announced at Build that diagnostic support in functions existed on App Apps, and now we're moving it to functions. Once you click on those, you get nice little charts, because a lot of times you don't know which query to run. So the charts are helpful for you to know, oh, my CPU has spiked here, got to 100%. Something might be going wrong, or I ran out of memory. So we're trying to really bring from all this telemetry, bring sort of a digest version for you that really helps you know what's wrong and go ahead and fix your problems.
So is that integrated with App Insights, or is that a summary of what you might get in App Insights?
So it's powered by App Insights, so that data is the same telemetry data that you have also in App Insights. So what you're logging into your function, the verboseness level I was talking about, that will power what the diagnostics can see. So it's powered by the same underlying logging infrastructure.
And will I be able to use that to view the function diagnostics within the function apps view or portal, or is that in the App Insights view?
Oh, that's a great question. The way that you get to that feature is you go into functions, you click on platform on the Azure portal, you click on platform features, and in there you're going to have monitor and diagnose problems. When you click on it, that's when you're going to get the interface that has Genie waiting for you. And we might, as we get feedback, make that entry point a little bit more prominent as we see usage on that functionality.
Okay, cool. I'm super interested in seeing all the monitoring efforts and the diagnostics efforts come together, because like it's something that we need to be able to do, like monitor our code.
Absolutely, yeah,
for sure. Okay, cool. So I think we've covered most of the things that have been announced at Build, right? The last thing is triggering logic apps and functions directly from storage.
Yeah.
Would you detail on that?
I love that stuff, because we introduced, I think in January is when we GA'd Event Grid, because all the serverless compute offering, they're all event-based. So there's something that happens for you to access your compute. So now, instead of you having to configure every time Event Grid or some other eventing source, you can go from the product that generates the event, and from there, start your compute workflow. So let's say files are going to be dropped in storage, and you want a logic apps to know when these files are added. Now from storage directly, you can click on it and start a logic apps workflow. Same way you can click directly from storage and start a function workflow. And that logic apps already know how to talk to that particular storage. So it prevents you from having to deal with configuring 3 different services. You just have to click a button and get started with how to compute something. So we want to make more Azure services work that way.
Yeah, totally. Clicking about it, that's all I want to do. Awesome. Do we have anything else that you'd like to cover or give a shout out to?
I want to like one shout out I did to the community. I think the amount of contributors we have on GitHub, the amount of issues we get, the Stack Overflow questions, like it's really like our oxygen. Like we need that for us to keep moving the right direction. Without that quick loop with the customer feedback, we wouldn't be able to announce all that we're announcing and reach that. So really thank you everyone that contributes and gives us feedback. We really essential for us. So that's the main shout out. And all the partner teams, all the CDA community, all the evangelists, the CSC team, all the community around Microsoft that helps us talk to customers, get the product out, get people using. It's really a wonderful environment.
I'd like to second what Eduardo said, but I'd also like to give another shout out to VS Code and the integration with the VS Code extensions. As a Node.js developer, I absolutely appreciate being able to develop in my local, and I appreciate the efforts that Matt Hernandez has made for that.
Yeah, absolutely. Like all the other teams we work with, like the tooling team. I was just talking to Visual Studio folks, VS Code folks, but all the other services like Event Grid and Logic Apps, we talk to them all the time. And even other products, like we talk to people in Office and Dynamics, and there's so much momentum now in serverless. It's excellent. Everybody's talking, trying to bring all this power of serverless in all these different products. So it's really, it takes a village.
For sure. Cool. Thank you so much, Eduardo. Thank you for having us, and talk to you soon.